From Clements Ferry Road to infrastructure to flooding, I sit down exclusively with Charleston City Council District 1 candidate Marie Delcioppo for the special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Marie Delcioppo,
Hi.
welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yes, ma'am. I want to come to you because obviously you have some developing news. On August 7th, you made this official on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
You said this, quote, "It's official. I'm a candidate for Charleston City Council District 1. As many of you know, this has been a very emotional week. I feel like I'm living someone else's dream. To run for office with the goal to make Charleston the very best it can be, not only for us, but also for generations to come, has taken on a whole new meaning. What's that meaning right now?"
You're going to make me cry right off the bat. Well, I became a mom. So I became a mommy.
Wow, congratulations.
2 weeks ago. No stretch marks, right?
Wow.
I am adopting a little girl who is the love of my life.
Sure.
And has given me a whole new sense of purpose and motivation and drive. And you look into those eyes and you realize it's not about you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's about something bigger. What am I doing now for her? And for when she grows up and when she's my age and she's starting a family and those things. So it's just been precious and so special. And I could just go on and on and on and dote about her.
Yes. And you said this, let me reread that again.
Mm-hmm.
To run for office with the goal to make Charleston the very best it can be, not only for us, but also for generations to come, has taken on a whole new meaning.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be a candidate for District 1 Charleston City Council?
Well, District 1 is a very developing area. Much like most of the city. We're seeing exponential growth in District 1. And so we are seeing a lot of younger families moving in, and they want what's best. They're moving there because they good schools, they want what's best for their children, and they want to make sure there's safety and there's infrastructure and development is appropriate, because they're not just looking at themselves. They're looking at, again, where am I raising my children? And I want my children to raise their children here and for it to keep going. So we're at such an important point, and I think it's like this throughout time, where you can't just look at the year in which we're currently in, but what are the decisions that we're making now, and what's the ripple effect down the line?
Down the line, you talk about infrastructure. Let me take you to the Low Battery, which is probably a couple blocks from here. This is from Michaela Porter of the Post and Courier.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote this just recently. Charleston City Council dealt Mayor John Tecklenburg at least a temporary blow by pushing off his effort to seek $32 million from the State Infrastructure Bank to help raise the city low battery seawall by 2.5 to 3 feet. Instead, council members urged city staff to review the merits of applying for a bank grant to cover about $43 million in cost overruns on the city's ongoing spring Fishburne drainage project. Several council members criticized Tecklenburg's communication with them about the SiB application.
Mm-hmm.
At Tuesday night's council meeting, many said while the mayor has worked with staff on the application for a month, Monday was the first time they heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
As a city council candidate, when did you hear about this?
I heard about it the same time that city council heard about it. So, and that raises some concerns, as a citizen and then as somebody seeking office. We want there to be, abundant transparency starting from the top. And especially as a council, so you have enough time to do your research and, okay, what is our best course of action, and almost have that when you arrive at city council on Tuesday night, not now I'm sitting here at council and now I've got to figure it out.
What is the best foot forward when it comes to this low battery project?
Obviously everyone knows flooding is only continuing to get worse, and it's obviously downtown on the peninsula. And I think we have to take a holistic approach to it. We don't want to, fix a flooding problem in one place and it winds up having an adverse effect somewhere else. Obviously, we don't want to keep kicking the can down the road because you wind up with like the, Fishburne, where it's now 40 some odd million over because time has lapsed and, things get more expensive and, none of the problems have been resolved. But I think you have to look at Low Battery. You've got to look around there because, in West Calhoun,
Right.
because if you think that's where our hospitals are, our emergency, our doctors and our nurses and our ambulance, they have to get into that area. And if a road is impassable, that puts our safety at risk. So I think we need to take a real holistic approach to looking at it and make sure one project isn't going to negatively offset another.
As a matter of fact, Councilman Keith Waring said that the approximately $43 million deficit on the Spring Fishburne Project should be a priority, and that in the years since city staff learned about cost overruns, there has been not a plan to address it. If you were on city council, what plan would you want to address?
Well, I think we need strong, transparent leadership at the top and a council that works well with that leadership and in order to address these issues, have open lines of communication so we can move these projects forward in a timely fashion and not let issues like this perpetuate.
Let me get to the other side because Tecklenburg said that the Low Battery project qualifies for the State Infrastructure Bank grant funding because it includes roadway improvements and addresses mobility. He said it also enhances economic development because the city battery is an iconic part of South Carolina tourism.
Mm-hmm.
How would you address mobility for your district? Because that covers most of your district.
Oh, yeah. And we see it, in Ansonboro and coming down East Bay Street, the flooding, which, I work at a building on East Bay Street and I've only seen the flooding continue to get worse. Every time it rains, it seems like it takes less rain to flood the street, and then certainly Market Street. And while obviously tourism is a huge economic driver, we also have to remember that people live here. And while this is the number one tourist destination, I want it to be the number one place to live as well. And so again, when you look at a place like down in the hospital district, God forbid a tourist has an issue, they need to get to the hospital, but certainly our citizens do as well. So again, I don't think you can make it an either or. Whether there's means assessments that you do that kind of, maybe starts to prioritize things, but you can't make it an either or scenario. It has to be addressed citywide. And it's not even just the peninsula. We're seeing Church Creek Basin and, other places where flooding is becoming an issue.
And Tecklenburg also said that the area's experience with requesting the SiB grants for projects the bank has already provided funding isn't good. While the bank committed to spending $420 million to extend Interstate 526 projects across James and Johns Island, according to the Postal Courier, it has refused to spend any more, even as the price tag rose to more than $700 million.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear that, what do you say?
Again, why are we seemingly not moving forward with things? Why are we seemingly not making decisions and years go by and costs go up? That's what I want to understand is, perhaps there has been movement, but from an outsider looking in, we're not seeing that. And so again, I think there needs to be that transparency and that communication so that we understand what's going on and explain these costs and explain why it seems to us like nothing's been going on.
Let me turn to the audit. At a City of Charleston Council meeting on Tuesday night, according to Channel 2, Council voted to accept the findings and the final audit report and therefore ending the 3-month-long investigation into Mayor Tecklenburg's spending practices. Mike Seekins, the chairman of the audit committee, said this quote, "It's time for this process to end, for us to move on to much more important things in the city, such as flooding, transportation, and housing." And let me do a background here. The eternal auditor, that is, investigated the mayor's purchases from 2016 when he took office to the present date. The audit report found, among other things, questionable purchases for non-city travel and business cards purchases for people who do not work for the city, including Sandy Tecklenburg. It was also revealed that more than $80,000 was spent on a legal advisor consultant hired for the mayor, and that's Roy Willie. This expense has upset a couple of council members who previously requested more information from the legal department about the scope of the legal advisor's contract, scope of work, and purpose for hiring him. Seekins says this quote, "The question was asked about the backup information. What was that money being paid for? Who was it directing it? The request was for any agreement between the consultant, any backup information about the billing process, and any reports that may have come as a result of spending, which is a significant amount of money, that being $83,000. When you look at this information, the backup information, and if you were on council right now, what more information would you want to have?
I think, again, why was this person hired? What was the intention behind it? What was the agreement you entered into? Certainly there must have been some sort of written contract, that laid out scope of work and payment for that work. If there were billable hours, what were those hours? What, was it a retainer? All of those kind of things. Because again, if you're looking at things that the city paid for, that's taxpayer dollars. And as someone who works very hard as a single mom, I want to know where I manage where every penny in my house goes. And I think that government needs to do the same. Where does every penny you spend go? And you need to live within your means, just like us regular old citizens have to do. And we've got to be accountable come tax time for our income and any deductions we're claiming and things like that. The government needs to also.
And I understand according to some sources, Roy Willie told the Post and Courier that basically he was volunteering his time for the city of Charleston. If he was volunteering, why is he still getting money?
Exactly. When you volunteer, you don't get paid. So, again, if there was some sort of in-kind pro bono, again, that needs to be disclosed. So you can figure out, okay, what were you being paid for and what were you doing on a pro bono basis? You can't have both. You can't get paid and say you're a volunteer.
And the chairman of the audit committee, obviously, Mike Seekins, told Channel 2 that now that the audit is over, several next steps could follow. If council members feel it necessary, they can file individual ethics complaints against the mayor with the state. He also says the city is looking to make several policy changes. If you were on council today, what policy changes would you vote for?
I think there should be tighter parameters and reporting regarding expenses and reimbursement of expenses. What is considered that whether it's a mayor or whomever is elected can claim as an expense, what needs to just be their personal funds. I think it just needs to be much more definitive, so we don't have these gray areas and we don't put our city through another audit like we've gone through.
And a disclaimer, Roy Willie is obviously welcome on Quintin's Close-Ups to get his side of the story.
Sure.
Mayor Tecklenburg, as well as Sandy Tecklenburg, is welcome as well. So we hope to have all of those people on soon.
Absolutely, yeah.
But in my last interview with you for Quintin's Close-Ups, I talked to you, obviously. You talked to me, obviously, about government processes. How well do you know the city government now?
I'd say I know it fairly well. Just from my work as the Daniel Island Neighborhood Association president, I certainly have near nearly every day I'm interacting with the city on some level. So I know who's who and who does what, and so I feel as though that's a very distinct advantage. It'll obviously, if I'm elected, it's still a huge learning curve, but it's far less of a learning curve when you've already had some experience and how things operate. Also seeing ways where I could see functionality and efficiency improve.
Improve. I know something that you really want to improve is the roundabout safety on Daniel Island.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we with this discussion?
Well, back to school was this week.
Right.
I'm very, very pleased that Berkeley County Sheriff's Office and the Charleston Police Department have stepped up some enforcement to help us navigate the roundabout and then some of the immediate areas, because the roundabout is so close to Daniel Island School, which is an elementary and a middle school, and Bishop England High School. And I pitched an idea to Chief Reynolds to do a safety video, and, we did that. So any sort of communication we can help put out there, the schools have the video to distribute to the students and to the parents.
Right.
So obviously a video or an article in the Daniel Island News or whatever it is isn't going to solve all of our problems. But the more we can keep putting information out there and we can keep sharing issues we see, what's not going so well, what's going well, then the better we can improve its functionality. And I welcome that feedback anywhere on Daniel Island where I currently have my jurisdiction. Residents come to me all the time. Can we get a crosswalk here? Can we change the timing of these signals here? Lane markings, things like that. Because we can't be on every street all the time. So I rely on residents and their trust in me and knowing that they can come to me so that I can help get these things done.
How do you improve quality of life in District 1?
How do I improve it? I think we need more communication, again, starting from our leadership. I'd like for, I would have no problem as a city council member making it very well known how I vote on what. I want to be out there meeting with people more, going to the neighborhood association meetings, because I can only be as effective as the residents' communication with me, and the issues that they bring to my attention. Obviously I'm out there, I see things, but again, everybody sees things from a different perspective. And I think the more we can open up that communication, the more things we can get done, the more life will improve for the residents, obviously at District 1, but also across the city.
And you talk about communication. What have you heard thus far about the Clements Ferry Road widening? Because obviously Phase 1 is supposed to be done later this year.
So Phase 1 is done. So it finished ahead of time,
Okay.
Which has been amazing. Maybe a little too good, because it's really easy now to go fast on Clements Ferry. So we're looking at, installing some additional speed limit signs and things like that. That phase was managed by SCDOT. Phase 2, we're hoping, will run a lot smoother, be a lot more efficient. That's actually going to be managed by Berkeley County. And I think Berkeley County has really proven itself that it can take on these projects and get them done under time and under budget, creating minimal impacts on the community.
And what projects would you advocate if you become city councilwoman for District 1?
I think something has to be done about 526 and the gridlock on 526. And what's going on with the Wando Bridge. That is monitoring what's going to be happening with Phase 2 of Clements Ferry. So, that's more that portion of the district, and the downtown portion of the district. I think it's becoming increasingly difficult to just simply navigate the streets. There's more and more people, there's more and more cars, there's more and more trash and vandalism. So, stepping up enforcement in those areas, again, flooding mitigation to help improve maneuverability through the downtown portion of the district.
And what is going on with the Wando Bridge in your mind?
No idea. I see a lot of people out there, but the truck lane is still blocked off. I haven't heard anything, beyond what anybody else has heard, which isn't really much. So it's just very difficult to traverse through there. And then as the port expands, which, we love the port, we love the economic impact of the port. But as the port expands and there's more and more trucks, it just creates more and more backup on 526, especially over the Wando Bridge, and Daniel Island being right there. So it just is more difficult for Daniel Island and Clements Ferry residents to get out into other areas of the city.
Okay. Well, Marie Delcioppo, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's
Thank you.
Close-Ups. And I'll be interviewing your opponent, Angela Drake, in September for Quintin's Close-Ups.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.